Hello. Are you there?
How you doing, everybody?
Is it hot where you are? It's hot where we are.
It's very hot and muggy. And we have turned on the air conditioner, but it is not conditioning the air.
It has so far failed to condition.
We are sitting here in unconditional air.
We are.
Unconditional air.
Yes, I feel a healthy glow about me. How about you?
Oh, hey, Jordy's here from Melbourne already.
Melbourne represents.
Oh, that's so hard where you are.
Early.
Hats off to you.
Early, Jordy.
It's very good. Thank you so much, Jordy, for getting up.
Thank
And
you.
Donna, as always,
Donna.
welcome to the gathering room. And Rachel from the UK, woo! Represent. Hey, Lara, how you doing, Rhonda? And
oh, everybody's coming along.
Yeah.
Oh, our lovely
from Maryland and Dallas, and aloha from Kathy.
Kathy Kozak,
Kathy
our
Kozak.
old
Is
friend.
it Catherine or Kathleen?
It's Kathleen.
Ah, that's what I thought.
It's
Good
name.
Irish name. Good Irish name.
Indeed.
And Lib and Catherine from California. And Alexa, how you doing?
Hi, Anne Karine from
Patricia
Lillehammer.
Ooh, Lillehammer. And from Milwaukee, Emily in Milwaukee. Eugenia Smirnova. What a beautiful name.
Beautiful name.
Finland is represented. South Africa. Boom. Boston.
yeah.
Hey, Linda from Boston. Yay. -2 degrees in New Zealand. Holy smokes. That is extraordinarily cold.
That's freezing. Yes.
It's very good. But it's probably Celsius, yeah?
It'll be Celsius.
It's probably not as cold as
You don't-
-2 Fahrenheit. It's very confusing.
You don't want to go out in your
From Denmark. Love from Denmark and Florida. We love people in Denmark and Florida and everywhere else. Everywhere.
Oh, we just love you all.
The people
We
are
don't care where you
wonderful.
are.
We
We
don't
love
care.
you anyway.
So,
Shall I
let's
present
start.
myself?
Okay, we're gonna have a kind of a special gathering room today because I don't usually do like current events things, but for those of you who are watching far in the future, there's been a lot of death lately, some mass shootings, which I hope at the time in the future that people are watching this, they won't say, yes, that was this week, because mass shootings seem to be getting more common, and that's a dreadful thing. But also because Ro and I had dinner this week with a friend, and we all traveled a considerable distance to meet, and we got to dinner, and our friend started by saying, first, I want to tell you how much I love you and how much I've been looking forward to this, and it's so wonderful that we could meet together. And secondly, I have to tell you that literally an hour ago, I heard about a death in my family. And it wasn't an older person. The death wasn't expected. And we were like, oh my God, do you really want to be here? Like, should you go? And she said, no, my family wanted me to get right on a plane, but I said I had plans. And we were like, eating dinner with us, that's the plan that's more important than going to your family at a time of death. And she said, well, I've lived through a lot of deaths in my family, and I used to just go into sort of freeze mode. The family would huddle together. Everything would focus on funeral arrangements and on sadness. And there was a kind of frozenness. And she said this time, she said, no, she's been doing a lot of like the kind of stuff we talk about on the gathering room, a lot of meditation, a lot of stillness, a lot of prayer in her own way. And she said, I don't really believe in doing that anymore. And she said, my son wanted to know if he should go directly into mourning and we should just all sit around. And she said, no, he had plans to go out with his friends. And I said to him, go out and be alive. The reason, the thing that we are learning every time someone passes is this is a brief and fragile moment. And it's amazing to have it. It reminded me of a poem called To an English Friend in Africa by this Nigerian poet named Ben Okri. And he says, time is now a gift for you, a gift of freedom to think and remember and understand the ever-perplexing past and recreate yourself anew in order to transform time. Live while you are alive. And the poem goes on, it's gorgeous. But that phrase, live while you're alive, really stuck in my mind. And I was thinking about the people who lost loved ones in the shootings these last few days. And it just, you know how history is made up of a series of stories about how people killed other people? Like that's the big accomplishment. You know, Alexander the Great killed this many people and took over this many countries. Napoleon got this many people killed and this many people died in World War II. And of course we should think about those things, know those things, honor those things, honor the lives that were lost. But it's, you know, it takes no time to kill someone, especially with nuclear weapons or assault rifles or whatever. It takes, boom, that amount of time. How much time does it take to bring something to life and keep it alive? If you've ever had a baby, if you've ever nursed a sick person back to health, if you've ever had a pet, if you've ever had a damn garden, you know that so much effort, energy, heart stuff goes into the creation and sustaining of life. And that's not in the history books. You know, that's not considered worth mentioning. But so we focus so much on death, and the whole time that focus moves our attention away from this incredibly complex, difficult, like courage requiring thing that is continuing to live. So I said, gosh, all these people, you know, they're born, their mothers nurture them, their fathers nurture them, everybody, you know, they get to a certain age and then they all get wiped out. What point is there in it anyway? I said, it just makes you wonder what the point is. And my friend at our dinner said, this is the point. The fact that we're here and we're sitting together and we love each other and we've managed to come together at this time and this place on this earth and eat this food. This is what it's about. So this got me thinking about an exercise I used to do quite often when I was going through some difficult times. Because first of all, let me just say that for those of us who are in a period of having just lost someone or who are contemplating like a terrifying diagnosis or something, sometimes life means you pour ashes on your head and tear your clothes and grieve, and that's what there is. And to turn away from it would not be integrity. But even as you go into that, there's a part of you that is whispering, live while you're alive. So my favorite spiritual teacher, Byron Katie, says, if someone you love dies and you're in the hospital and you take the shock of the loss, the grief, you may feel like there's no more living in you. And you may sit there for hours or days. But she says, sooner or later, you're going to get hungry. And life will say, to go on, I need you to go have a sandwich. And it will someday happen that as you eat a sandwich, you forget that you've lost this person or your health or whatever it is. There will be a moment when the sandwich and eating the sandwich is all you're thinking about. And in that moment, you'll be purely alive. And there's no grief there. So watch for those moments. And I often do this when I'm having a tough time, not by eating a sandwich, but by what John Kabat-Zinn calls coming to my senses. So if you're in grief and you can't get out, then just let's all take care of you and you be there as long as you need to be there. But it sucks in there, frankly. It's hard. It hurts. It doesn't make you want to live. So in a way, it's part of the refining fire that makes you, sort of purifies you, but it's not the deep living that my friend said she wanted to do by keeping a dinner appointment instead of going to the deathbed of a loved one. That deep kind of life comes from a very simple way of being in the world. And our animals, the animals in the forests and the oceans and the deserts, they do it all the time. They're present in their senses. They're not distracted. Now, Ben Okri's poem says, time is a gift for us to remember the ever-perplexing past and to imagine the future. But he puts on this little clause, in order to transform time. So we have the ability to understand the past and understand the future in a way that brings things from our past into the present, and even can imagine things that have never existed coming into the present. And in that way, we do time travel. We live in a past moment, we live in a future moment. We know it's all present, but the amazing human mind brings time together. Now, when that is fixated on pain and death and loss, you will find no relief from anything, because pain and death and loss come to us all. But when you can utilize it in the context of presence, it can become part of a way of constructing a life that is richer and fuller and more alive than a life spent focused on grief. So I'm going to do two things now, and I want you to play along with me. The first one is something I call coming to my senses, and the second one is transforming time. So to transform, or to come to your senses, it's very simple. I've done this with tons of people, but I want you to do it anyway. And I'd really like you to either write it down or type it into the Facebook thingy, and it will come up in a few minutes. It won't come up right away. I won't see it right away, so I'll keep talking. But when it starts coming up, Ro will see it, and she will come advise me. But this is all it is. And if you've done it before, you do it again, but you'll always have to come up with new things. So first thing, think of 3 scenes that you love to see. So 3 things in the world that you love the sight of. 3 things. And I am going to say green leaves, my family's faces, and a prism that casts rainbows. There you go. Okay, so when you've thought of that really vividly, go to another sense. 3 things you love to smell. So we'll go through all of them, and then we can read them. So 3 things you love to smell. I'm thinking lavender. I'm being very cliche. The smell of my shampoo. The smell of a puppy. They have puppy smells. Now think of, and really go into these 3 things you love the sound of. So I love the sounds of birdsong in the morning. I usually put the window open and they sing a massive symphony every morning. Man, I'm so cliche today, but it doesn't matter. They're so good. I love the sound of my favorite songs. I love the sound of people laughing downstairs. When I can hear people laughing and having like love time. So what about things you love the taste of? And they don't actually all have to be food, but that'll work. I love the taste of clean water. And I love the feel of it on my skin. Think of 3 things you love the taste of: lemons, brownies, water. And then go to touch. I love the touch of, I love it. I love the feeling of a shower. I love the feeling of a hug. I love the feeling of, I love the feeling of a baby's head when they're falling asleep on your shoulder. In fact, I love the feeling and the smell and the sound and everything of a baby when it's going to sleep on your shoulder. So I can go really deeply into that. So as you write down things that you love to sense, start to think about them really vividly. And here, once you've got them written, this is what I want you to do. In your mind, pull them all together. So if I imagine that I'm looking at green leaves and I'm listening to people laughing in the other room, and I'm holding a baby and smelling the baby's head and feeling the baby going to sleep on my shoulder, and maybe I could even maybe I could even lick the baby and see how it tastes. That's getting a little too personal. Most of us do it. Let's face it. Who hasn't licked a baby? No, don't. That's probably
who hasn't
illegal.
licked a baby? Mouth a bit.
But if you start to imagine all of them at once, then put in lavender and brownies and lemons and just start to combine sensory images. And if you go deeply into it, what you'll find is that you become very present. So that's coming to your senses. And I'll look for your for the things that you've put there. We're not going to do quite the same kind of questioning thing. We're going to create different scenarios for the senses based on what you guys write. The second thing is transforming time. So you're going to go to the place you've imagined with all these sensory details that are beautiful. And then you are going to go back to a time in your life when you were hurting in some way, when you were suffering, but you know you got over it. So say go back to when you were hating middle school, or when you were breaking up with your first true love, or whatever, a bad time that you've now healed from. And then you say to the person that you were then, come over here, I want you to feel something. And you bring them into your body, and you feel, first of all, you say to them, do you feel how you're not heartbroken anymore? Do you feel how it's okay now? I'm from your future. I'm telling you, this is how it's going to feel in the future. And now get a load of this. And you bring in the baby and the laughing and the lemon and the green leaves and a cozy blanket wrapped around. You bring all that in for the person you were in the past. And then you go into the future, into a time where you may fear, like a time when you will face loss or illness or something. And you say, no, come here. This is all we ever have to cope with is if you just come to your senses, like go deeply into the taste of lemon drops on your tongue, go deeply into the feeling of a baby on your shoulder. You know what? We're going to get through this just fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be fine. So the second one might not work as well for you as the first one because you can't come back from the future. But I've done this to myself so many times starting in teenage years that I can tell you something. You are setting yourself up for a better future by doing this exercise now. And this is a way that you can transform time. Time is a gift for you now, so live while you're alive. So as your things come in, now I want you to start sending us the things that you wrote down, the sensory things. And I'm going to read you or recite for you, because I have it memorized, a poem by Sarah Teasdale called Barter. And it's about what you should trade for what in your life. And it goes like this. Life has loveliness to sell, all beautiful and splendid things, blue waves whiting on a cliff, soaring fire that sways and sings, and children's faces looking up, holding wonder like a cup. I think she was thinking of the Northern Lights. Life has loveliness to sell, music like a curve of gold, scent of pine trees in the rain, eyes that love you, arms that hold, and for your spirit's still delight, holy thoughts that star the night. Sell all you have for loveliness. Buy it and never count the cost. For one sweet singing hour of peace, count many a year of strife well lost. And for a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be. So she's saying, come into this breath, see the loveliness in the world, breathe it in, and drop all you have been and all you could be, and make a barter for life. And that, at the end of our dinner, I basically said to my friends, to Ro and my other friend, if we hadn't done this, my life would be so much poorer. If this friend had chosen to be focused completely on the grief and sorrow of her loss, we would not have had this incredibly beautiful, rich, heartfelt conversation over dinner. It's one of the sweetest times I've ever had with anyone. So I just wanted to pass that along to you guys, especially as we mourn the loss of so many people in these horrible, senseless, awful tragedies that I'm not excusing for one single minute. I'm just saying we're all going to go someday. Let's make this count. So
can I just want to raise something that's been asked in the comments, Marty, that's a little bit separate from this. And that is, isn't there value to grief and to feeling your grief? And isn't, What are you saying regarding that?
And that's why I started out by saying when grief is intense, you rend your clothes and you pour ashes on your hair and you are in that grief. That is the refining fire. It changes us. I was just telling Ro, I think the way things have happened in my life sometimes has created more fear and more sorrow. I mean, I made decisions that were very, very risky. And because of that, I went through a lot of fear and a lot of some stress and negativity. But in each case, I felt like the reason I needed to do it was that specific kind of stress was going to change me into a different being. And certainly the times I have grieved and grieved and grieved, there are refiner's fire, and they make you a different person. So that's why I started out by saying, if you're grieving, grieve. That is life. But the moment you can say, I'd also like to have a sandwich, the moment you can enjoy the sandwich and just say, like, my life has gone to hell in a handbasket, but at least I'm going to really enjoy this sandwich. Something really switches. And it's very much like, when I'm in Africa and I see all the animals and the herd animals survive predation. Every night somebody gets picked off, the lions come in. And I often think, I used to think the fear they must live in. And then Adam, I may have told you this story about my son with Down syndrome, in case you don't know. We saw some lions, and one of them came right up to him, this huge lion, and stared at him. And when the lion just stood there for like 5 minutes. And when he finally left, I said, Adam, was that scary to you? Because it was kind of scary to me. The lion, there was no barrier. It was just Adam and a lion. And he said, no, it didn't scare me, because I was feeling him and he was feeling me back. And I said, really? You were feeling him? And he said, yeah. So I said, so what was he feeling? And he said, what lions always feel. And I said, what do lions always feel? And he said, peaceful. So then for the rest of the day, I said, we went and passed a herd of impalas, and I said, do you feel them? And he said, yeah, everybody can feel them. And I said, do you feel just the whole bunch of them, or do you feel each animal? And he said, I feel each animal. And I said, how are they feeling? And he was like, good, peaceful. Good. Then when we were back in California, I saw a fox. We were driving at night and we saw a fox. And I said, can you tell what the fox is feeling? And he said, oh, he loves to hunt. And I thought, how interesting. Like, these creatures out there are in their senses, and they are completely vividly alive to each moment. And because they don't have storytelling minds, they don't hold on to trauma or imagine future difficulties the way we do. And it's been shown in all kinds of different psychological experimental settings that people who continuously hold stories of trauma or predictions of trauma stay deeply in negative emotions, where if they become more present, and mindfulness has become a big thing now. If you can become more present and mindful, those painful things go away faster and they transform you, I think, more efficiently. So yeah, go straight into it. Honor yourself, honor those who are feeling grief, but know that someday you're going to want a sandwich, and that's going to be the beginning of your liberation.
I love it. So would you like me to put some questions up, or do you want to run through everyone can scroll the comments and see all the beautiful, I'm feeling so much better just by reading all your amazing, vivid sensations as we're getting the,
when you start to, when I do this in a crowded room and people start to like just call out chocolate. I love the taste of chocolate. I love the sound of a snowy night when it's so silent. I love the sound of a bird's wings opening. And you're just like, oh, I love that too. I love that too. Because we're only here for a minute, you guys. We're only in this physical form for a minute. And in every single second of that minute, there is loveliness. There's even loveliness in pain and grief. If you can get enough distance from it, which doesn't mean I think you should feel good if you feel bad. I'm just saying that when you're always aware of the beauty of what's happening, there can be beauty even in times of stress, and in the stress itself, in the way people go through and manage and hold pain like my friend was the other night at dinner. There was something so beautiful about the way she was grieving, you know? So yeah, somebody says, how do I find a copy of the poem? The 2 poems I read, one was Ben Okri, O-K-R-I. It's called To an English Friend in Africa. And the other one is called Barter by Sarah Teasdale. They're my favorite poems, that is. So I can see that we have lots of comments, but not so many. I had this fantasy in my mind that there would be all these different.
Oh, there are. There's so many.
Yeah.
You just have to go back.
Oh, yeah. Oh, look at this. Going into the soft animal of your body, says Sherry. Yeah, you enter the soft, as another poet, Mary Oliver, wrote, you do not have to be good. You do not have to walk on your knees for 100 miles through the desert repenting. All you have to do is let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. And that's what we're doing. There are times when you feel like you should walk through the desert for 100 miles on your knees because the world is so harsh. And the only thing in history is people killing each other. But then you look around and you see how much life is being sustained, and you get up and you start to feed the soft animal of your body through all its senses. You nourish this animal through all its senses, and loveliness comes up everywhere. I went to brunch with Byron Katie once, and I was asking her, about her experience of life and why she's in continuous happiness and bliss. And she went to a bagel bar, and she came back with a bagel and all these different sides. She had lox, she had cream cheese, she had capers, she had lemon slices, she had like everything, peppers, like 10 different little dishes.
I think about this story about 3 times a day.
And she put the cream cheese on half a bagel, and then she put everything else on. And then she stabbed it with a fork and sawed off a piece with a knife. And it was like it had all the things on it. And she goes, this is what it's all about. And then she kind of went, and realized it was way too big to fit in her mouth. So she put it back down and she sawed it in half. And as she sawed it in half, she said, this changes everything. And then she ate it and she was like, that's what I mean. And I was like, you're right. It does change everything. So
God, I miss bagels so much. Oh, it's too much of a focus on bread.
Stop grieving. Stop grieving. We who do not eat carbs grieve in private. So dogs, hummingbirds, sunrise, a warm hug, silk sheets, the breeze on your face, jazz, waves, rain. Let's see what else. Oh, Alexa started to smile as she was writing. Cinnamon buns, chocolate, carrots, all together. Yeah. Puppy smell. Yum. Sunrise, children, looking down at the earth from an airplane. What a miracle is that? Oh my God. Coffee, cinnamon, and fresh bread. Wait, just hold that one for a minute. Oh, and now bring in, so coffee, cinnamon, and fresh bread. So you're sitting there with fresh bread, coffee, cinnamon buns, and now you hear rain on the roof and wind in the evergreens and birds calling. Oh, and then you see the ocean, you see the waves crashing, you see like clouds rising in the sky. You have a mouthful of ice cream. You roll into the arms of someone you love, even if they're not here anymore. Like, use this moment to come into your senses and then transform time by pulling past and future into the loveliness. That's what I think Sarah Teasdale's last line really means. For a breath of ecstasy, give all you have been or could be. So literally with every breath, bring in loveliness. Every single breath, say loveliness, and look for it everywhere. And when you breathe out, give up everything except this moment, and you will have transformed time into this endless fear-based march of sorrow into breath after breath after breath of loveliness right here, right now. So thank you to my dear friend who came to our table in the restaurant instead of to her grieving family, though she's there with them now. And thanks to everyone who's joined us, and just hold in our hearts those whose grief right now is so heavy that there's nothing to do but rend their clothes and pour ashes on their heads. We'll all be there from time to time. and then loveliness will return, and we'll understand why we came in the first place. And I love you guys. You're a big part of the reason I came in the first place. And seeing your names and the things you love has made today lovelier and lovelier.
It sure has. Thank you, everyone, for gathering. We see you next week.
Bye for now.
Bye.